Shadows over Hawthorne, Episode 3, The Murmuring Graves. Previously in Shadows. Over Hawthorne, Detective Elliot Graves uncovered ritualistic murders tied to the mysterious Order of the Black Veil. Strange symbols, shadowy figures, and blood-stained red silk ribbons haunted his every step. A hidden lineage of darkness tied to Hawthorne's oldest families began to unravel, and whispers warned of a force known only as the Veiled One. The screaming dawn. The town of Hawthorne woke violently that morning. A blood-curdling scream tore through the fog-laden streets, scattering crows from rooftops. Their cries echoed like an omen across the stone alleyways. Doors flung open, and windows cracked ajar as sleepy townsfolk emerged, draped in hastily pulled coats and shawls, confusion etched into every face. At the heart of it all, in the dim glow of the town square's lone gaslight pole, a crowd had begun to gather. The light barely cut through the swirling fog, illuminating only vague shapes, until one woman's trembling voice rose above the murmurs. "Oh God! Oh God! Look!" She stood barefoot in her nightgown, clutching her shawl as though it might shield her from what she had seen. Her outstretched arm pointed upward. Elliot Graves arrived moments later, coat billowing behind him as he pushed his way through the crowd. His boots crunched on the frost-laden cobblestones. "Step back," he ordered, but his voice faltered when he finally looked up. Hanging from the gaslight pole, swaying gently in the breeze, was a man. His face, drained of life, stared wide-eyed toward the heavens, as though still trapped in a moment of unthinkable horror. The spiraling carvings etched into his bare arms gleamed faintly, unnatural in their precision, as though cut by hands not of this earth. Elliot's gaze dropped to the man's stiff hand. Clutched there, with knuckles white, was a blood-red silk ribbon, so vibrant it seemed to glow against his pale skin. The bile rose in Elliot's throat, but he swallowed it. Around him, the townsfolk whispered nervously, their words carried like a prayer through the chilled morning air. He turned abruptly, feeling the hair on his neck stand on end. There, at the edge of the crowd, near the alley swallowed by fog, a figure stood, shadowed, still, silent, a phantom. Elliot's chest tightened. "You!" he shouted, but the figure melted into the mist before Elliot could give chase. The unsolved case. Back at the constabulary, Elliot spread photographs of the scene across his desk. Each detail gnawed at his mind. The ribbon, the carvings, the grim symmetry of it all. "It's the same as before," he muttered under his breath, staring at the cold, lifeless gaze captured in the photograph. A hesitant knock broke his trance. Officer Henry Fuller stepped inside, clutching a thin, yellowed file in his hands. "Sir," Henry said softly, "there's something else you need to see." Elliot frowned as Henry placed the file in front of him. Its corners were curling with age, its paper brittle. 20 years ago, Henry began, his voice careful, another man was found, hanging from a tree near Old Greaves Wood. Same symbols, same unnatural look. Elliot flipped through the faded pages. The ink had bled with time, but the details remained stark. Another ritual, another silk ribbon. The case was never solved, Henry continued. No witnesses. No leads. Just silence. "Until now," Elliot said. He exhaled sharply, closing the file. "The killer's not hiding this time. They want us to see this. They're sending a message." The Elder's Tale. Jonas Whitlow's cottage sat like a corpse on the outskirts of town, its skeletal frame surrounded by twisted trees. Elliot approached warily, the wind carrying a low hum through the branches, like whispers chasing him. Jonas greeted him with a rasping cough and milky eyes that seemed to look right through him. "So you're the one stirring the hornet's nest," the old man said, his smirk revealing yellowed teeth. "Come in, detective." Inside, the air was heavy with smoke and dust. Shadows danced across the walls, cast by a weak hearth crackling in the corner. "You've seen the ribbons, haven't you?" Jonas rasped. "The symbols?" "I need answers," Elliot said firmly. "Who's behind this?" Jonas's gaze sharpened. "The Order of the Black Veil. They were thought to be gone. But darkness doesn't die, boy. It waits. It feeds." Elliot tensed as Jonas gripped his wrist suddenly. They worshipped something ancient, something that walks in the shadows. They called it the Veiled One. Elliot pulled back, his chest tight. "How do I stop it?" Jonas's voice dropped to a whisper. "Find its bones, boy. Dig up the truth it buried, or you'll be next." The Murmuring Graves. That night, Elliot ventured into Old Greaves Wood. The forest loomed like a cathedral of shadows. Each step was swallowed by the mist curling at his boots. His lantern flickered, as though afraid of what it might reveal.